So I don't know how many of my subscribers will be watching this or how many people will be watching this, but this is something that I didn't expect. Um, Earlier in the year, I talked about how with Jim Harbaugh denying the NCAA investigation and making life more difficult and being really fighting the NCAA administration, that this could make Michigan football's life harder and that he should have just came forward and admitting to his mistakes, his wrongdoings, and now here we are. I don't know what to make of the NCAA investigation for sign stealing, because unless there was a staffer at opponents' games, it's not illegal. It's straight up, it isn't illegal. I mean, there's an article by USA Today that talks about this, written by Tony Garcia of the Detroit Free Press. Which, yes, Detroit Free Press, it's local, but don't worry, we're also going to be reading an article by ESPN. Michigan football is now under a second NCAA investigation, this time for allegedly violating rules relating to sign stealing, which prohibit in-person scouting of future opponents. The news broke Thursday in a Yahoo Sports report, then was confirmed by the conference in a social media post. The NCAA bylaw in question is 11.6.1, which states off-campus, in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited. Late Wednesday afternoon, the Big Ten Conference and University of Michigan were notified by the NCAA that the NCAA was investigating allegations of sign stealing by the University of Michigan football program. The statement began, "The Big Ten Conference has notified Michigan State University and future opponents. The Big Ten Conference considers the integrity of competition to be of the utmost importance and will continue to monitor the investigation. The conference will have no further comment at this time." The Yahoo report reads, in part, two of Michigan's opponents this season told Yahoo Sports they became aware that Michigan knew their play signs. Sign stealing does not violate NCAA rules unless the team uses in-game electronic equipment to relay the information to players on the field or amongst coaches. The 2023 NCAA football rulebook addresses sign stealing in a general way under a section titled Prohibited Field Equipment. It states that any attempt to record, either through audio or video means, any signal given by an opposing player, coach, or other team personnel is prohibited. A Michigan football spokesperson did not immediately return a phone call or text left by the Free Press. Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines were already under investigation by the NCAA for a series of Level 2 violations dating back to 2021, which claim U of M coaches contacted recruits during the dead period, and analysts served on on-field positions, and coaches watched players work out via Zoom. The Big Ten Conference posted on Twitter talking about investigations and all that stuff. Already is 1.2 thousand likes. When questioned about it, Jim Harbaugh was said to have misled NCAA investigators, and he was charged with a Level 1 violation, the most serious of offenses. In the summer, it was reported that the program and NCAA had reached a negotiated resolution for Harbaugh to serve a 4-game suspension. That fell through. Harbaugh suspended himself for the first 3 games. I can only imagine that enraged the NCAA. Many think that because Harbaugh suspended himself but was with the team throughout the week will lead to the NCAA to make a change for future suspensions in 2024. That's article number 1. I just want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I see that the chat is talking about this. As an unbiased Michigan State fan, I say this is funny. To me, it is funny because, I mean, number 1, my question is, what opponent of these 7 games did Michigan need to steal signs from to proceed to beat those teams by anywhere from 30 to 50 points? I think you can all answer that on your own. I did have a good laugh at the fact that if Michigan is guilty of sign stealing, that's the reason their defense has been so good. They simply knew what plays all these poor kids were running. You know what? If they were, if they stole all those signs, then absolutely. But Michigan's defense has gotten burned on a few plays of their own, and I remember that TCU game when we ran a corner blitz, and one of the corners who was supposed to be covering Quentin Johnston was the blitzer. I mean, we called a corner blitz right into the face of their play, and they worked it to execution. That's the only reason they beat Nebraska. Joke. Inverted thrills will this ruin Michigan's season? I mean, it depends if the allegations are true and they actually did something illegal. If they just scouted and, if they just scouted and they have really intelligent scouts and they have one of the best staffs in the country and they're just that annoying to face, then there's nothing illegal about that. If they're using every opportunity to gain knowledge that isn't illegal, of course. But if it is illegal, I don't know. Will it? Will it ruin Michigan's season? I have to think that if you're a Michigan player, you're going to get annoyed at this. One of the teams is definitely Rutgers. I could see Greg Schiano getting mad about that. I could. I don't know, though. I mean, this kind of... It struck me out of the blue. By the way, for those of you who don't know, I am a Michigan fan. College football fan, too. I think I'm pretty objective. But this hits close to home, so I'm really looking for outsider perspectives here. We're going to read the ESPN article in a bit. It looks like most of you don't you don't think this is anything other than like a vendetta. You were off about Wisconsin and Iowa. Yes, I was, but I didn't think Tanner Mordecai was going to get hurt, even though I don't think it really mattered. Iowa was going to win that game. I don't see why people are saying Michigan should be out of the playoff when no proof has been presented. These are just allegations, probably by salty teams. I don't know if I take it that far, but we have hit an interesting point, I think, in America in general, where you are guilty. It's no longer innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent. And that goes for a lot of things. I do want to say, though, regarding Michigan, if this was an Ohio State thing, you'd have Ohio State fans who would be, not excited about this, and Michigan fans would be all on them. So we just got to wait, see what the investigation says. I mean, I look at this personally, and I've said before, it looks like Harbaugh did mislead NCAA investigators. Like, it's, the violations that Michigan committed in 2021 were pretty small. It shouldn't have been that big of a deal, but Jim Harbaugh made it worse than he could have, and that's on him. This, I think, is a culmination of Jim Harbaugh and the NCAA trading slaps, and it's gotten to this. But who knows? This is why good coaching... Well, that closed out on me. This is why good coaching changes signs week to week. It's up to the players to keep up. I mean, really, there's not much else to read outside of what the reported investigation's on. That's basically it. So I'm mainly going live to share my thoughts and to get what you guys have to think. Music for me, 007, if you're still on here, I'm curious what you actually think. I read your comment saying one of the teams is definitely Rutgers, but tell me what you think, if the investigation's a sham, if there's anything to it. I'm looking for non-Michigan fan perspectives here. I know a Michigan State fan earlier, and Zach Scout told me that he thinks this is funny, and it honestly is. What are your thoughts on MSU having almost backed out of the game this weekend? Did they? There's no way they backed out of the game. Let me look that up. What do you mean Michigan State backing out of the game? Did they or no? I also saw an interesting. Oh, that's something else. It all makes sense now. I knew we weren't as bad as the game last year, and I know Michigan wasn't that good. That has to be laced with sarcasm. Has to be laced with sarcasm. Wow. Um. Now that would be Michigan backing out of the Ohio State and Iowa game in 20. Yeah, Michigan in 2020 totally backed out of those matchups. I mean, to go from being one of the most effective teams at containing COVID and then letting it spread all around, I looked at that and I had a pretty, gut feeling that yeah, we backed out. um yes, they said they considered not playing. That would have been hilarious. Do you have any insights on that? Like any resources on that? Like that they considered not playing? Because I'd be interested in reading about that. Oh, okay. When the Big Ten notified Michigan State, they considered backing out for player safety and health, but told the Big Ten today that they play. Why would they back out? That's just Michigan State at this point this season. Their season's over. I'll be doing a Michigan and versus Michigan State preview and prediction video within like the next several hours. It's in a Big Ten article I saw on Twitter. Um, yeah, I'll read those. Okay. I hope this doesn't derail the season as a distraction for the team. I think it'll motivate the team. Honestly, that's just me. I mean, the players really didn't, they wanted Jim Harbaugh back during those games where he was suspended. Any other comments that I missed? Yeah, I don't know, really, if I'm being honest. So, I mean, the question is what they did illegal? Did they have staffers go to opponent games because that's illegal? Did they electronically broadcast signs? Or did they just pay attention to film? Did they, send recruits? Or did they have, insiders who aren't a part of the staff, scouting? Like, how countries do to each other all the time with espionage? I don't know. I'm going to read the article by ESPN and then we'll end this stream shortly because I have to get back to doing my thing about preview and prediction videos. I've been a little behind this week. The NCAA is investigating number 2 Michigan's Wolverines football program. Bless me. Amid allegations of sign stealing, the school announced Thursday. The university is in full cooperation with the Big Ten and NCAA. At the University of Michigan, we are committed to the highest ethical and integrity standards for all members of our community. It's total public relations. The University of Michigan and the Big Ten were notified of this. I'm looking through any of this to see if there's any new information. The NCAA does not have rules specifically against stealing signs, but does prohibit in-person advanced scouting of opponents and also has bylaws prohibiting unsportsmanlike activities. Michigan, the most Michigan could get out of this would be like a slap on the wrist. That'd be about it. From what I can tell. Let me see. Okay, Music for Me 007 is one of my favorite college football with Sam subs. There's a video clip of Greg Schiano complaining at halftime that something wasn't right about what was going on and how they would figure out to deal with it. Huh. Interesting. I'll have to find that clip somewhere. I'm not saying Michigan State should back out, but hypothetically, if they are getting their plays stolen, then all it takes is a linebacker blitz with all that momentum up the middle to take someone's head off. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, from the two opponents talking about Michigan's success over the past 2 seasons, either Michigan's been cheating, or they have one of the best staffs in the country. Maybe it's a mix of both. I don't know. Hey, Michigan man, Jay, go blue. I saw that you asked a question talking about what happened. What happened is the NCAA is opening an investigation into Michigan for allegedly stealing opponents' signs and, play call instructions, basically. Do you still think Coach Capri's will beat Iowa? I assume you mean PJ Fleck. There will be a preview and prediction video on that, is what there will be. They said the FBI... they said the FBI is involved? That's really weird, really strange. Thank you, Oink Oink, by the way, for the $2. Really appreciate the super chat. Yeah, I mean, there will be a preview and prediction video on Iowa, Minnesota. Probably tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to be going live tonight just because I've been behind. And I'm already going live right now to talk about this because it's all over on Twitter. In about 2 weeks, you'll be suspended for the rest of the year. Watch. It's on Twitter. Okay, yeah, I'll check out that video music for me. Thank you. Okay. 2 teams make a claim seemingly with no evidence, and now we got a whole controversy on our hands. Look, I think the NCAA is... I think the NCAA is mad at Michigan, because Michigan has basically been taking matters of authority into their own hands and not listening to the NCAA. We'll see what happens. We'll see. DI114N, he's definitely gone after the season. Jim Harbaugh, it seems like a deal to me. Michigan should just back out. Michigan State should just back out. What we should do is we shouldn't be panicking about any of this. I don't know how long this will be in the news or what'll go on. Rose Bowl Selection Committee, this is crap. Does Michigan really need to steal Rutgers' play calling? No, they didn't. But we have to see if they actually did or not. I have no clue if they stole signs. If something were to happen to Coach Harbaugh, Scott Frost is available. Please run away. Although I'd take Scott Frost as OC. If Sharon Moore goes somewhere as a head coach, I would take Frost in a heartbeat as OC. I love the spread option that he runs, and I think with Michigan's offensive line and the physicality they have, we could turn it into like a power spread option. I'd absolutely love that. You watch, Harbaugh will be suspended the rest of the season in about 3 days. It depends on if these are true or not. Really depends. Clemson is the king of... Oh yeah, you said earlier they're the king of sign stealing. And everyone's now talking about Rich Rod and Will Muschamp being Michigan's next head coaches. Guys, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Now, if he's suspended for the rest of the season, well then RIP, nothing's happening. By nothing's happening, I mean that Michigan is not going to win the national championship. They're probably not going to win the Big Ten. Who knows at this point? I mean, this to me is just... It's crazy. It's nuts. I have no clue what's going on. Message board geniuses posted something talking about Urban Meyer being confirmed as Michigan State's next head coach. But this just looks like it's all laced with sarcasm and this guy trying to do investigative journalism. I don't know. I think there's a good chance Urban Meyer is MSU's next head coach, even though he's denied it because money talks. But let me get more of your thoughts, guys, and then probably at 2:45 I'll get back to work, and there will be more preview and prediction videos. Let me see. Are you going to do a preview and prediction for MSU Michigan? Yes, and I wanted to get it out yesterday, but this week has just been a hectic week for me and my family. But yeah, MSU Michigan, that video, I'd say expect that within the next 3 hours, I would say. 3 hours, 2.5 hours, 4 hours. Michigan is the only major college football team that gives the NCAA the time of day. The NCAA going after Michigan is the only time they can make the news. I don't think he leaves. He is weeks away from a massive deal. Yes, but I don't know why it took them this long to get the deal out there. It's stupid. Like, I'm really getting frustrated with Ward Manuel and all this anti-NIL stuff, and I don't know. It just bothers me. It really bothers me. Let me see some other comments. This means we are doing well considering all of these investigations. It's funny. I see no scenario where Urban goes to MSU. That's a tall if. Urban goes anywhere, it will be a legit first-tier school. MSU's not an also-ran. I wouldn't agree with that. They're top 25. They're top 25 in revenue. They're top 25 in attendance. They have a basketball coach and a massive alumni base and really an environment of athletics that wants football to succeed. The problem is there are factions, there's disunity within the school, and the school, I think, cares too much what others think about them. Because with Michigan State, I gotta be honest, every time something bad happens to MSU, it all has to connect back to Larry Nassar or previous instances that are unrelated. I don't know what to tell you. Now if Jimbo Fisher gets fired at A&M will definitely have more resources to pull a head coach than Michigan State. If you're Michigan State, you don't want Jimbo Fisher to get fired because then you really have the picking. But if the A&M job's open, that will be the top job open in the country. They have limitless money, limitless resources. I know that's an exaggeration, but they have a lot more resources and money than Michigan State, and it's just a good job. And large fan base, large stadium, better recruiting grounds, better competition. If Urban is going anywhere, it would probably be Texas A&M if Jimbo Fisher gets fired. But that's just my opinion, and I'm not an insider by any means. Do you think this will affect this season, or will it run out till 2024, 2025? I don't know what will happen at all. I don't know if it'll affect anything. Jim Harbaugh suspended himself for 3 games, and so far Michigan football looks pretty similar to what I thought they would be in the preseason, which is the best team in the country. I have no clue what this will do. I think it will piss off the Michigan locker room. I think that if nothing illegal occurred, all this is going to do is get Michigan more frustrated, which means they'll beat up on their opponents more, which means opponents will be even more mad and feed into these rumors. But if these rumors and allegations have truth to them, they should be taken seriously, because whether it's Michigan State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, rivals of my school, or whether it is Michigan themselves, you can't cheat, and you should face punishment for that. I just hope that Michigan didn't cheat. I hope that no one, to be frank, is cheating. I'm an OSU fan, and I think that until more info comes out, this is all just dumb allegations. I've seen that from a lot of rival Michigan fan bases, and I appreciate that. I hope that if allegations come out about, whether it's Michigan State or whether it's Ohio State, that myself and other Michigan fans reciprocate the same way. Because There's a reason why, the legal system and why public attitude has typically been innocent until proven guilty. Because that's the best way of going about things. Guilty until proven innocent is just a route to kangaroo courts. And that's not just for Michigan. I'm not saying Michigan's a victim here. This has happened to other schools. This has happened to people in real life. And like non-football related. And that's really all I have to say. I'm just reading the chat and talking about this here. Being pretty casual about this. So the allegations do not relate to sign stealing. The allegations pertain to NCAA bylaw, which reads off-campus in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited. Yeah. So why is everyone talking about, I saw everyone was talking about sign stealing. I guess maybe it's sign stealing and in-person scouting. I have no clue. I have no clue whatsoever. I feel like Urban Meyer in Notre Dame would be interesting. He wanted the Notre Dame job, but they hired Charlie Weiss instead, which is just funny. Per Yahoo Sports, yes. Yeah. So at this point, we've really gone over all that we can go over, if we're being honest here. Under investigation for sign stealing at this point, who knows? I think allegations like this happen probably pretty regularly, from what I can tell. But I think the NCAA, I think that Jim Harbaugh messed up in misleading the NCAA, and now the NCAA is trying to look for any reason to get back at him. Like they're fighting each other, and this all could have been avoided if Harbaugh didn't mislead people, because this is what's happened as a result of being stubborn and not fully cooperating. Now you have the NCAA at your door, and the NCAA doesn't really have any power. They don't have much power. They can't do much of anything. But what they do have is they have the power of media and perception. So I'm just saying that Michigan, you got to be careful here. If you're Michigan, you're not always on the high horse. You're not impervious to wrongdoing. You're like every other university, every other college football program, outside of the service academies, which have, an entirely different set of restrictions, schemes, other things. You're not above it all, nor are you below it all, if you're Michigan. So that's my opinion. A lot of this stuff at this point can only be opinion because we're reacting to breaking news here. Sign stealing before the college football playoffs is stupid. Wouldn't paranoid teams change their signs with the month layoff between the conference championships and the playoff? I mean, part of me is thinking that they would, but at the same time, you got to have some continuity because, you just do. Although I don't know how hard it is to change signs because I haven't played the sport of football. At blank name, people are saying that is why Michigan lost to TCU after being dominant. I do not believe that, but I have seen that argument made. Oh, because they scouted TCU's previous signs, and then TCU changed them up, so they just got exploited. That could be the case, because there were plays where, Michigan they ran the completely, almost opposite play of what should have worked, and it just resulted in big gains. But then again, Michigan gifted TCU picks. J.J. McCarthy threw 2 passes that were ill-advised. Kalel Mullings fumbled. I mean, you can't chalk up Michigan's loss to TCU based off of sign stealing. TCU outplayed Michigan. I mean, I don't know. I hear this, and this to me sounds less legit than the recruiting violations. That's just me. I've said it before. Jim Harbaugh should have been more cooperative. This, my opinion, it'll be and if there's evidence to this, well then there's evidence, and then I'll switch to that opinion. I think this is closer to a act of revenge than it is actually anything legitimate. I hate Michigan, but I thought that the recruiting stuff was silly, and this sounds petty as well. Guess we'll see where this goes. Yeah, we'll just have to see. But they should have dominated the gap between Michigan and Georgia last year is much smaller than people think. Oh, absolutely. But I guarantee you this, too. Michigan was preparing for Georgia. I guarantee you that. They were preparing for Georgia, and they looked at TCU the same way that, honestly, most fans would have looked at TCU, which is Ohio State's much better than TCU. Anyone with a brain knew that. And there's a chance that Penn State and even Alabama were better than TCU. Michigan being consequentially, better than Ohio State, better than Penn State, and Georgia having kicked your butt a year ago. I mean, you'd think that Michigan would prepare for TCU, but you also know that we got another shot at Georgia, and they're really excited for that. I mean, Michigan, I think, overlooked TCU. And J.J. McCarthy and really Michigan football, period, it wasn't just downsides against TCU. There were some ups, there were some highs in that game. But Michigan made countless mistakes. They didn't execute. And TCU played one of their best games of the season. And with TCU, you also have to remember, losing to Kansas State was sort of a wake-up call from them. That loss to Kansas State basically took their destiny out of their hands. In one sense, they got a second chance. Because if USC beats Utah, USC gets in instead of TCU. I mean, Ohio State, I think TCU got in as I don't know. That's going too much into the past. It's hard to, consider all this stuff. But it's 2:45. If any of you have last minute things you want to say, I'll stay on for a few more seconds, but then I got to get off and get back to work. So I can do preview and prediction videos today. So, thank you all so much for watching. And, yeah, have a great day, guys. I'll see you around.